The idea came about 18 months ago now, 2 years, and it was myself and co-producer Bill Elms. We were looking for a project that we could work on together and that we could take as a long-term project, and so we wanted something that was indigenous of the city of Liverpool, and we were looking for a story that had yet been untold, and so we came up with the idea of perhaps in the 50th anniversary year of the Beatles, it would be wonderful to explore the story of the wonderful Brian Epstein.
It's very much a two-handed play. One of the reasons why I took it was because there's a fascinating character in it who's known only as this boy, and he kind of represents the heart of Liverpool, plays other characters, and there's a very exciting young actor called Will Finlayson, who, if you could buy shares in an actor, I'd probably buy shares in him. It's very exciting, and so there's an interesting dynamic.
We get on really well, and I think that's kind of key to the piece. And obviously, doing a two-man show, you've got to have that relationship. But it's brilliant. It's hugely inspiring and comforting to be working with an actor like Andrew.
Brian Epstein and I were partners in the 60s. I was the booking manager for the Beatles, along with Brian doing his personal management. I'm looking forward to this play now with Andrew Lancel in. I'm sure he's going to be brilliant in the part, because whoever plays Brian Epstein, it plays him, and they've got to shine, because Brian Epstein did shine. I mean, and I'm sure Andrew will do it, and I'm absolutely can't wait for the play to come on.
I'd always been interested in the scene and in the people who made the actual scene, the club owners and the entrepreneurs and stuff. So that particular idea of doing something about Epstein, who I didn't know that much about at the time myself, was intriguing for me to find out about, not least because I was brought up around the corner from him.
The Beatles were together for sort of 10 years, kind of, a little bit before as youth, but they were recording together for about 8-10 years, and the scope of music they did in that very, very short period of time. And Brian was only sort of with them about 5 or 6 years, kinda. It's not a long time at all. I mean, I was in the Bill for 7 years, and I, put the same performance in every day. What they did in such a short period is really God-given talent, I think. And also with Brian, swimming against the tide in his life, his upbringing, his religion, his sexuality. I think it makes him much more heroic that he achieved so much in that short period of time.
There's no way of not falling in love with him, and everybody that has that we've spoken to, and some wonderful people who knew Brian, from Andrew Lancel, who's playing Brian Epstein, and Will, who's playing this boy. We've all fell in love with him. I mean, he was just an incredibly charismatic and wonderful character who was overlooked.
I'm half Liverpudlian, my dad's from Liverpool, so I feel really quite close to this city, and it's such a great city, and to be doing it, here, to be making my debut in front of an audience like this is brilliant. And I just think the story it's so touching, and it's really just an education of of Brian's life and his contribution to the world of pop music, fashion, and everything else.
I think Brian was as out as you could be in that time, certainly privately, and he certainly made no qualms about how can we say grabbing the culture at the time. He had quite a maverick lifestyle, I suppose. It was only a few months after his death that the law was changed, which started obviously with the Montague Act. And interestingly, Joe Orton only died a few weeks before, and we know that they met because they nearly worked together on the film. And I think there were two extremes, really. And there's been lots of plays about Joe Orton and films about Joe Orton, and I think it's about time that there's a play about Brian Epstein, a real play about Brian Epstein.
The great sadness is that it was only 4 weeks, a month after Brian died, that he would have been, allowed to be free and express his wonderful love and passion and who he really was. And that's that's a great tragedy to me personally, that you know, he didn't live.
Every anniversary of his death, I take a little, like what you would wear for a wedding, a little spray, maybe 2 or 3 flowers, and that goes on his grave every year since his death.
Genuinely, and we don't always get this, there's a really good feeling about this one. It's going to be special.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, as I said before, you know, we're a week into rehearsals, and as you can see, I'm very emotional at the moment, which is part of the process. It's a natural part of the process, and it's a wonderful. We've got that baby, you know what I mean, and looking after it and nurturing it, and yet it is, and it's, you know, we've all done this before, but this one feels like something very, very special. And Bill and I and Andrew and the rest of the team, we all want to take this further, much further. We know it's got legs, and we know that it's going to go outside of the city, and it's going to go on, and it's going to capture the imagination of the world. We know that, and you say that normally as, like, you know, commercial speak, but with this, I think it's, well, I know it's the truth. Yeah.
As Brian would have said when asked where do you want to be, quite simply, bigger than Elvis.